Hello and a very warm welcome to another video. Today is going to be all about upcycling denim. So I'm going to go through how I dissect thrifted jeans and how you get all these lovely bits in preparation for sewing with them. And I want to show you a couple of bags as well to give you some ideas of how you can use denim in your projects, whether they are small bags or tote bags, larger bags. You could make quilt tops, patches for your jeans to mend, lots of different possibilities. I get a lot of the denims I use from charity shops, and I'm sure you'll have some sort of thrift shops in most countries. They always have items they can't sell, probably in the back room somewhere, items that were donated with stains or rips that, make the actual item unsellable. And they often get sold for absolute pittance to the ragman. So I like to purchase from those piles and still offer the charity shop a decent amount of money, so they, still get funding. And also I'm not cutting into clothing that would still be worn perhaps, and sell on the actual shop floor. When I source denim, I always check whether the denim is stretchy, because so many trousers these days are. And whilst I still use them for sewing, it's no problem at all, you don't actually get the same really lovely frayed edges, because it's much more difficult to rip the fabric because of the tiny stretchy threads that are woven into the fabric. This is the first denim bag I made. I just self-drafted it and experimented really, and you can see how I reused a pocket, which is a workable pocket, and I just top stitched it with a couple of rounds of zigzag stitch onto the larger panels, and then boxed the corners and just added a little bit of a decorative fabric piece underneath, and the same on the back. Because it was just an experimental piece, the inside I just used a thrifted duvet cover for. Made a few pockets here and just doubled this up to make it more substantial. Now this one here I made after that, and I absolutely love it. I use it so much, pretty much every day. And this is much more of a patchwork, and you can see some really nice frayed edges in there that are top stitched, so you could see them. And here I've reused a belt loop and just added some metal rings, and there's some usable pockets on here, and you can I don't know, maybe add a pen in there if you wanted to. So the side panels are also made up of usable pockets, and then for the strap I reused the waistband and fixed it with a couple of can I think of the word? Studs? Don't know. Yeah. So you can see how you can make use of various bits of jeans, and that's another raw edge up here. And here you can see the buttonhole, and the front of the bag I did some patchworking and a bit of needle turn applique. Just to show you up here, I added a zip, and also, where is it? I added a little strip here, and I often hook my keys on there so that I can find them without spending ages looking for them in the bag. This one here isn't finished yet. I'm still working on that one, so I've boxed the corners, and I've repositioned the back pocket, and you can see that underneath pockets you often get a very different dye, shade of blue, and I just love the contrast. It just adds to the grunginess of it, I think. So I used seam rippers to take the pocket off and then just top stitched it in place. Now that's a note as well I wanted to cover. You will, when you sew with denim, you will need jeans needles. The brand doesn't matter, but they will need to be jeans needles because they're much thicker and they will help you get through all the different layers, because things can get really bulky really quite quickly if you think that you have multiple layers, and if you're using stabilizer on the inside, that will add to it as well. I use regular thread, all-purpose polyester thread, or cotton thread for piecing. And then if you want stitching like this, I mean, I didn't do this, this was from the original, leftover from the original pocket, you can use top stitch threads, and they are much thicker. You would only use them as the top thread, but not in the bobbin. So again, I've reused a pocket, and this one is really big, and you still have part of the belt loops usable, so you could, for example, put a colourful scarf through there just to decorate the bag. Again, I've repositioned the pocket here to show off the dark blue underneath, and this little bit of stitching I actually added because there was a small hole in the denim, and I've just, before I constructed the bag, so when it was just a flat piece of denim, I went over it with the machine and just went back and forth and then perpendicular, just with a normal white all-purpose thread. And again, I quite like the added visual effect and the texture that you get from there, and at the same time it strengthens that area that had the rib in it. So a double pocket here, and then I've reused another waistband. You've still got the buttonholes, and I really like how you see the original purpose of the elements. So I would never cut this off because I think it just adds to the overall uniqueness of the piece that you're making. So I still need to finish off these bits, either take this off altogether or stitch it back down. And I've added, I don't know if you can see this, I've added a double pocket to the inside and just top stitched it onto the lining, and another key holder, and there's a large pocket here. You know, you could probably fit a paperback in there. Sometimes you may end up with raw edges, and I've just zigzagged it to prevent too much fraying, just to secure the edges. And to be honest, I don't mind bits like this because, you know, this is a one-of-a-kind piece, and that's just the way it is. And I just love seeing bits of the interior of the jeans that I cut up. All these bits are former bottom hems, and I unpicked the stitching with a seam ripper, and believe me, you'll need a bit of patience for that. Put an audiobook on, or, you know, put a film on, and it is worth all the effort, because this kind of fading, you just don't get it any other way, because this is when items are worn, often over years and years and years, and it's priceless. And once I've pressed it, I'll probably use a bit of water to steam it. This will be ready for use. So I keep all these different bits in bags. So I've got a bag for the bottom hems, and I've got another bag where I keep all the zips in. And you could, for example, top stitch these together and have a row and add this as a panel to the bag. I mean, that would look so cool. Or you could, again, you could just fold this under and put fabric underneath and have it as a workable pocket. And again, just top stitch it, have it on the outside as a feature. So I keep all these bits together as well. And I'll show you on these, I guess, hot pans, how I dissect them. So I start by cutting through the crotch. And then you have to think how you might use the pieces to make sure that you leave yourself enough space to either, either as a seam width or for top stitching onto something else. And again, you could unpick. Sometimes you can actually rip as well as unpick. I'm sure there's probably a quicker way. If you do know one, let me know. So these areas are really tricky to get unpicked because, by definition, they are sewn to last. So there's a lot of stitches to go through, but the good thing, I guess, is that you don't really have to worry about making other holes because you can just make a feature of it, use it as texture, or just sew over it to mend it. So that wasn't too bad, actually. So you can undo this bit and then take the zip out that way, or you can just cut it, rip it, and when I cut off the waistband, I cut really close to it rather than unpicking this, so I do leave the stitching in place. So make sure you have some really good fabric scissors that you can use, and you may have to tidy this up a little bit. Now when you get to the belt loops here, I would unpick this bottom one so that I can cut and keep this bit intact. And I always start from the side. Oh, watch your fingers when you do this. So that's ready to cut. So this is a prime example of where I should have checked the reverse, because I've inadvertently cut off the stitching that I wanted to keep. So what I'll have to do is top stitch this again, and I could use a brown thread maybe, because all the different layers have just come undone. Not that it matters, but I've just made a bit more, well, extra work for myself, that I didn't need to have really. Be aware of these studs, because you can only sew so close to them before your sewing foot hits them, and you won't get a nice straight line. So I would probably cut about here to give me enough seam allowance that I can then feature this bit in a panel somewhere. You can then take a few more threads out and make the fray more pronounced. Now you can actually keep these threads and use them maybe in some textile art, or for example, if you're making bangles, I'll link the video above, you can wrap them round. Again, that gives you a really nice texture, and this is good cotton. So this is the pocket on the inside, and what I can do, I've chosen a little scrap of indigo cotton. I could put this underneath and just top stitch it in place, just to show through the ribs, because that'd be much more interesting than actually seeing the pocket. And I would also just maybe put a few little stitches in there really close, so that they would be inside the seam allowance, just to keep this nice and flat. In this case, I would actually take this belt loop off, and then cut up here so that I'm retaining this seam, the flat fell seam, together with a pocket, because again that will make a really, really cool panel. So it might actually be, let's see, better to cut from this side, so I'm not going to go through the stitches again. And you can use smaller scissors, just to, if this bit bothers you, just to tidy that up. So you can leave this as it is, or you could put something underneath and maybe add some embroidery over the top. So there's always lots of ways how you can add further embellishments. And I keep another bag where I keep all the smaller bits and pieces, because they are still usable. I'm not sure what for yet, but I'm sure the right project will come along. You could layer them with top stitching and show off these lovely frayed edges. Slightly bigger pieces you could square off into, for example, 2.5 squares, 3-inch squares, and make a patchwork. Another idea would be for these odd-shaped, so that there was a pocket in here, for these odd-shaped pieces is to add heat and bond to the back, and then you can cut out shapes and do applique with them, and just top stitch around them. So imagine you have a plain panel, this leg for example, then you can add different petal shapes, top stitch, you know, using different shades of blue, and you have a unique embellished square you can use as a feature, you know, as a focal point in your bag, or, you know, for example on the back of a jeans jacket. So I hope that's given you a few ideas of how you can cut up your jeans and make the most of the individual elements and incorporate them into your sewing projects. I wonder if you might be interested in a bag tutorial. I like to self-draft them, but I can just have a look at doing a general video for you, show you how to box the corners and you know, how to put one together. So if you are interested, let me know in the comments below, and I shall film a new bag for you. As always, thank you so much for watching and for all the lovely comments. That really does mean the world to me. And a special thank you as well to everybody who has used one of the Amazon links in the description below and made a purchase. I do get a small commission, or may get, I should say, in qualifying countries, and it does help to pay for some of the materials and a little bit of the time that it does take to make these videos for you and keep them free. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.